On.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. I'm higher vibrations, and so are you. Happy spring equinox, everyone. It officially the spring equinox started at 10:06 p.m. Central.
Oh
What
boy.
daylight time? I think is the word that we're supposed to use now. Um, and so we're
Yeah.
in the equinox energy right now. We're getting this solar storm. This is when the first day where you could see the angel comet with the naked eye. There's a lot happening in a celestial way. We're moving already into the energies of the lunar eclipse that's only in 5 days. And also the 22nd of March is always an important day of the year. That's when you start opening presents is kind of how it works. So I just wanted to bring all those things up and say, I am so honored and so privileged to be in this meeting today. Guardian of Orion and Yolanda Marie were my catalyst to start YouTube, period. Like
Wow.
these two individuals. And it's been from being an audience member of their content that has led me to do what I'm doing. And to have them both here today with me is just such a privilege and an honor. And I just want to say thank you both for coming. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah,
so
it's awesome.
excited.
I hope we can do it more often than just once.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I
I would like that.
hope so
So,
too.
Yolanda, where are you coming from? You're in the East Coast someplace, isn't that right?
I am. So I was
So,
in Wisconsin. A lot of people know this. I kind of, shuffle. There's the word shuffle back and forth. My kids have peeps in Wisconsin. And so we have I've got an interesting situation going on. We won't get into it. So we were there, we go into Wisconsin for the snow, which is insane because the snow in Wisconsin is not normal. It's not like a little flurry. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole bunch of snow. So we go into Wisconsin. They like the snow. They see people, and then we come. And so I actually live in Florida. So that was the very long version of this answer. So I am in Florida, where I'm called to by the water and
mhm.
my guides and all of you, all of us.
That's right. That makes a lot of sense. I've always connected you with water. Is
Mm.
this something? Do you have conversation with water, or any? Do you have like what is it with you and water?
I I have done many different things with water over the years. So it's interesting that you asked me if I had conversation with water because I can have a conversation with anything. It all I'm going to watch what words I use because there's a lot of fluctuation happening in it's good, but there's lots of different ideas about words,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah.
And so I was going to use the word animated. There's actually some fluctuation behind what people think of as magic and all of these other things, light dark and all, the blending is happening, the balance is happening, but it's still coming. Okay, so for some reason that did need to come through for somebody to just bring to their attention how they look at words. Okay. So, but I have a conversation with anything because it's all God. It's all actually got its own consciousness on its level, like where it is. So, yeah, I will definitely converse with water, but it's throughout the years, it's different. So, like today, for instance, you wouldn't have caught me talking to water, right? But the water is loaded with potential. And so it's charged a particular way around me, depending on what's going on. And so I'm so glad you brought that up because that makes me want to load the water now with different potential consciously again and just do a little shift because we're in the middle of a really big shift that's coming through now. I mean, this is the first day of this astrological new year. Did I say that right? This
Yes,
this
that's right.
year, right? So it's always a shift, but this one is bigger. This one is brilliant. Are they all going to be big and brilliant? Yeah, they're all going to be big and brilliant. Okay, let's get that out of the way. But this one, there is, and I want to say it how they put it to me this morning. Um, so the way that, let me let them give it to me because I'm going to say it wrong if I try to repeat it. But there is a merging happening with the way that we view things. It's got something to do with what we just talked about with words, for instance. So all of these different ways that we approach the way we think of spirit. Okay, it won't be too long-winded, but there's just a little bit more. The different pockets of this, like the different compartments, right? And you already know this, but this is like a big, there's going to be some merging where definitions, there's the word they want to use, the definitions that we apply to things which have to do with words that are loaded with a particular quantum potential, a particular density, a particular frequency. As we're clearing all that out, this is going to matter less. Okay, that's the point. And all of these different, there's all these definitions and fear over here, and then this is the what you're supposed to do over here, and now whatever. All of that is, as we raise into the heart frequency more, and this is the whole planet, it's us, but it's the whole planet. As we do that, it's looking like, and they're really just showing me it's quick. Like I keep wanting it, I keep going, no, it's going to take longer than that. But let's see, we're in 24. They're giving me like a 10 to 15 year block. To me, that's nothing. Right. And I'm not saying a 10 to 15 year block where everything's like glorious and we're all singing and floating around in our bodies because we have no weight and we don't even need, I don't mean that, but where this whole compartmentalization, this whole like the degree of this duality within just even the teachers, the people awakening, the people who know what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that was a lot. Girl, a whole bunch wanted to come out. I told you they came through. Yeah.
I love that you do this. And then this actually segues a bit into what Guardian and I were kind of talking about. If we have a topic, Guardian likes topics, and so I give him topics. And it's the question of, he laughs because I'm so unstructured. I'm water, and he's not that exact way. And
I'm a male Taurus, so yeah.
Oh, I was thinking Earth can't. Yeah, right. When she said I'm like, I bet he's Earth. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'm also an Earth snake according to Chinese astrology. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know a lot about Chinese astrology. I have to learn now. I'm gonna have to. Yeah.
Would you like to share, Guardian?
Which aspect, or what are you curious about?
Zodiac, or should we introduce the topic I was going to say?
I'm not an expert in astrology, so I'm not the best person to.
I do know that on one of your lives one time, you said you don't want to be a goat. Everybody that's about to have a baby in the goat year will have early childbirth to avoid it. And I
heard that in the news a few years ago, which is kind of strange, but I know.
Well, the question was
curious. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is fun. And it's okay if we end up talking over each other a little bit. Nobody's doing it on purpose. It's just how we're excited to be here. So everybody in this meeting right now are all individuals who utilize channeling. And it's something that is has come through a lot of muck when it comes to being in like the taboo stuff in the earlier years. And there's more and more understanding and awareness about this. And the fact that I can feel, we have our discernment, and I can feel the purity of the message coming through when Yolanda is speaking, when Guardian is speaking. I can tell that it's different in individuals as well. When it shifts, you can feel it, and you can, if you allow yourself to open to it, because I get a lot of visuals, I could see the different people that are coming through these individuals. Wow. And this has been a very useful and needed talent that it turns out we all have. And I was hoping that we can talk about a little bit, and we can talk about a lot of different things. So there's a lot going on. We got time. But it maybe to help those who are tuning in right now or later, how did you learn to channel? Like, how did you, I'm asking both of you this question, but let's go to Guardian first for just a moment. How did you learn to channel? Like, how did you find out that's what that was? Is there...
Do you want a long or more shorter
version? You
want
to share?
Okay. Well, I had my awakening in 2012, and before that, I didn't really have any knowledge of mediumship or channeling or like any of these stuff. So when I had my awakening, I was exposed to a lot of things. And my first clear exposure to channeling was Bashar in 2012. And I swear to God, I don't know how I ended up watching Bashar. Like, how the hell did he end up on my YouTube feed or something? Or someone sent it to me. I don't remember. But anyone who like knows it, they know that it's pretty weird. Like someone channeling an extraterrestrial, and to like someone who is like has a regular like normal day-to-day background, that would be like, what the fuck? Like, what is that? What's happening?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, oh, like that's completely normal. I don't know why, but yeah, like I'm totally on board with that, and I could the information really resonated with me, and I also like started to like I wouldn't say like maybe develop a relationship with him, I guess maybe, but all these like crazy synchronicities like started to happen regarding when I was like asking questions and I was like receiving answers very clearly and very directly with some crazy synchronicities. And it happened multiple times. So it's not just a one off experience or something. For example, like once when I went to work, I had like a very clear question. Like I wanted to know more about, I don't know, X, Y, and Z stuff. And when I ended up at work, like someone sent me a direct message with a video from Bashar, which responded exactly to what I asked on my road to work. So, and
Wow.
that was not the only time that like happened. Like I remember I also like downloaded some sessions from him, like some previously recorded stuff. And I also had like a question like, hey, like I want to know something about this. And like the information came that like open up the, I know like the third channeling recording, go to 1 hour 45 minutes. And there was the answer to what I asked. I was like, okay, like this is very interesting. And my first, yeah, like I was very fascinated by the whole phenomenon of like having a more direct connection with like higher vibrational beings and like bringing information through. So somehow I came across, he did like a workshop like 10 or 15 years ago about like how to channel up with some exercises. And I did that, which I definitely feel that something gets shifted in me during the session, like also physically. I could feel it in my body too. And yeah, like after that, I experimented with it. It was a very rocky start. I wanted to go directly with the verbal channeling stuff, which is probably not the best way to do it, but that's how I wanted to do it. And I'm not sure how much did I experiment, but it was not an easy process, basically. But yeah, like I also had a friend with whom I could experiment, or like he asked questions and I brought some stuff through, but it was like very surface level, I know, like generic stuff. And after a few months, I like recognized that, like, I think I'm doing something, but like I could sense myself that I'm like not at the level that this is actually good, or like I need to grow more before I can actually do this properly. So I completely stopped doing anything with that. And I think for like 7 years or so, I haven't even touched any of these stuff. And like in 2020, when all the lockdowns happened, then things have shifted around. Then yeah, like I've evolved a lot in like 7 years, and like this urge came, like, hey, like people need to hear these stuff, and like people need to know about things that I could know normally, because like for me it was like a common day-to-day thing that I could like download information for myself, but like other people had to know that. And I started to experiment. Like I did writing down stuff and then like reading it. Also, the one of the first videos that I like uploaded to YouTube, I think it's still up, are like my experimentations of like just being in a meditative state and just speaking and like recording it. It's not the best, but it's interesting. I mean, the information is good, just the way it's delivered is not the best yet. So I was not used to doing it at that time. And yeah, like after that, a lot of crazy stuff happened. So very interesting connections. Like that's when like Sirius like really came to the forefront. And yeah, like how it came to the forefront was, I know, like one night I woke up that I was like surrounded by this very strong blue aura thingy, and that's all I remember. And after that, all these messages from Sirius started to come through, which have developed a lot also. And also, I had some encounters with Thoth energy too, and like that's how I wrote the book. And yeah, like a lot of crazy stuff have happened since.
Wow. What a journey. And that's only a few years worth of
Yeah.
story. Thank you for sharing. Would you like to answer, Yolanda?
That's like
Marie?
amazing. I'm just thinking about a lot of the parallels when Guardian was talking. And I've been listening to you so long that I want to call you Guardian, but then I also want to call you Jay. But then like what do you should I call you Jay?
Yeah, like Guardian, like that. Guardian
Think
is
call
my
Guardian.
preferred.
You Guardian?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, I don't want to get this wrong. Okay, because that's how, and okay, so I'm definitely going to answer your question, but I also wanted to mention, because for you guys, most of them listening already know Guardian of Orion. Well, my son's name is Orion. My son is 20. So this is way before I knew anything about any of this. You know what I mean? Like, I suppose, in terms of astronomy, I understood there about Orion, in Orion's belt and Orion in terms of astrology as well, and whatever. But I'm saying in terms of like spirituality and related to, higher beings, I didn't have any idea about. I don't want to say I didn't have any idea, but I didn't have a concrete, established sense of higher intelligent beings communicating with any of us. Does that, you know what I mean? Like, I really didn't. It wasn't with me consciously. So anyway, and I just happened to name my kid Orion. Basically, I was looking, I think, on a website when I was pregnant. I Googled angel names, and every angel, like all the ones I liked, I knew people with that name. I was like, well, that's going to be weird. No, I don't want to name him this. And then it popped up, right? Well, obviously, it was shown to me, these children, we all name ourselves. So obviously, this random piece of information that there was an angel who was called Orion by some, in some religion or something like that. And I've never been able to find it since, but I had it even printed out and everything. And then when we moved, it just disappeared. Like it was never a thing that existed. And I named him Orion. Well, he well, you wouldn't really call it a previous life. Let's just say he has been a guardian. He has been an angel within the Orion system. Okay, like he's been an angel specifically for beings who, at the time, because Orion, there's lots of different Orion beings and not just one type of being. It's like so many different Orion beings. And so, but it was during a wartime. It was during the wartime that we understand, And so he does have a hardness about him. He is also very much Earth here on this planet. He's brought a lot of that knowledge with him. So when I came across Guardian of Orion, okay, it was like, what? And I think we had like maybe an email conversation or something like that, Guardian. And I think we said maybe it would have been 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know. You were probably trying to get me to do live then. It was so
Yeah,
hard to
but you
get
had
me.
a tornado going on or something.
Something was probably happening. I'm getting dragged kicking and screaming, and I don't even know what it is. I have an idea what it is. It's got to do with North Node, South Node, and learning things through the human shifting into something, and it's part of the progression for a greater cause and all of that, right? But yeah, it was just so difficult because Pamela, same thing. It's like, okay, come on, let's do this live. And I'm like, I really want to do lives, and something would always happen
Yeah.
life wise, like in my human life, that would be like, well, this is going to be too difficult.
The last time
And
was the last eclipse corridor that we're just getting ready to start another corridor for the eclipses. I was like, oh no, it's really close to the corridor. I hope she's going to be able to come.
that was the fall. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was a big one.
So, but the channeling question, I actually, so it's a long story condensed into a short amount of time, but it's still a long story because so much was going on. Like a lot of us can relate to that.
Mhm.
There was a lot of real life heavy stuff going on that caused me. That's what, as we say, wakes us up, right? Out of what, out of this stupor. And I was in and out of the, what I'm going to call a stupor, lovingly, lightheartedly. I'm going to call it a stupor. Okay. Because I was conscious of a lot of things, but boy, did I know how to shut it off when I needed to, have that, whatever it was, corporate job, whatever. We won't get into all that, but just I'd be ready to wake up and then boom, something would happen. Anyway, so something was big enough to like make it be permanent. Let's just put it like that. Okay. Like there was nothing else that was going to happen. And so I learned to read tarot cards because I needed answers. And here's the thing though, and we often don't know this. We often are getting the answers claircognizantly anyway, but we don't trust ourselves yet because we have been conditioned to not believe our inner voice, especially if it contradicts any social construct, like any hard, concrete social construct. Okay, some of this is going to be through familiar lines. So, yes, the physical earth DNA. Some of this, and that's going to contradict the etheric DNA. Okay, like big time, that's trying to come in too, that's already present at birth and then that's the social wiping. And then, yeah, but anything, and some of this is going to be just your immediate, social interactions. So, but those are still hard structures because how do you interact with your peers, your parents, your whatever? Most of the people who are listening at this point to this video already have some idea of this, but a lot of people are going to come across this that are going to have these type of questions. So this is what's getting answered right now. Okay. So even how you relate with the peers, with the family, with your kids, have rules. There's a rule in place that's solid and it's somewhat built into your physical DNA and it's somewhat built into your educational programming, how you're supposed to deal with that. Okay, so all this mess gets in the way. That's okay. Right. I want to say, let's make a long story short. Too late, right? As usual. So that was the long version to that. And so through all of these things, that makes it super difficult. So yeah, I wanted to answer a lot of questions that already had been getting answered. That's right. And but tarot cards, learning this external tool, which is perfectly fine, right? Gave me confirmation to that. Maybe going to a psychic, going to learning Reiki was big. I don't mention that a lot. And that's coming back into my consciousness a lot because these new energies, like they're coming through my hands right now, like they're buzzing right now. I've heard you talk about the hand chakras and the feet, the chakras there, right? And or what am I getting here? So you can think of them as tiny portals, but there's something else they're showing me there too. It's not portal that they want me to say, but I don't really have a word for it. Because when we think of the word portal, we think it's a door somewhere. I mean, yes, technically, but they just mean it's almost more like a generator, more so. Okay. And they're showing me like, the electricity and it's like a little vortex. Okay. So if you were to focus each of these very active sites, the feet, especially now too, we're getting moving. Okay. And not only because it's spring, this has been going on for a while. These feet are so itchy, like they want to run, right? Yeah. This throat wants to open up, okay? And the third eye is just a wagon. It's open and it's open. It's like, I know everything. I don't know what I'm doing. Like there's a whole bunch of that going on too. And so, so if you were to focus it in that way to picture it like little yeah, dots of light, like sparkling, you know, they're showing me like glitz. Okay, so like what's behind you, Pamela, with the flower? So it's something like that, okay? Yeah, it's exactly something like that. And it doesn't have to be organized necessarily in that way, but they're giving us, and by they, I mean the Arcturians, but this isn't just the Arcturians, that's just who's coming through me at this moment.
Right.
Okay, but this has been coming from different higher intelligences. And by higher, I just mean for those listening, there's not an intelligence higher than us in the way that we think of higher. Okay, we are intelligent, but using these words, the higher intelligence just means they're able to understand more in any moment than we can understand in this density. That's all it means. That's it. Yeah. They're not better than us. We are them. And even those who are sleeping, who we think we're separate from, they're not better than them. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Like they don't see themselves that way. We see them that way, you know, and there's some tricky stuff going on in this density that wants people to be separate, and they're definitely not human. And we know that. We don't need to get into all that unless we do, right? But I don't think so. But so all that's going on. So anyway, to bring it back to so all this comes, so I'm still with you guys, okay? I'm with you, Guardian. I'm with
lovely.
you.
Keep going.
I haven't gone off the rails. So all of this stuff, so if you can imagine, for those listening, if you got all of this stuff going on, you've got access to all this, you don't know, you're looking for answers, so this is what's going on, all right? I didn't know any of what we just talked about. Learning these things brought me somehow, and I can relate to Guardian this way. Pamela, I'm sure you can relate to what he was saying too. Like, you don't even know how you got there. Like, yeah. I don't know what. So I found this beautiful, lovely woman online who was also channeling. And by the way, through her, I found Daniel Scranton. Okay. Beautiful Daniel Scranton, a great channel. If you guys don't know Daniel Scranton, okay, he's definitely a wonderful, pure, beautiful channel as well. You probably know him. Anyway, so, but this wonderful, beautiful soul needed a reader for her company. She had like a company, and I had learned to use tarot cards, and she was extremely intuitive, and also, and I'm this way, she asked, like, it didn't matter that I didn't have experience, basically, is what I'm saying. She asked her guides. She asked the Arcturians, and we were both, that's how I really cemented, well, I'm definitely Arcturian. That's how, through this situation, somehow, the Arcturians sat me down, and they actually taught me to channel. But Guardian, I can relate to you because I needed like other sources. So it wasn't just that simple. In other words, there were other people on YouTube who, and a couple might come to mind, okay, because people can use these resources, but there was somebody who had a couple steps where you can sit down and you can just literally hold a meeting, like literally just say, okay, at 12 p.m. tomorrow, I'm meeting you, talking to these higher beings, and in my case, the Arcturians. I would like you to visit me and give me a message. And I wasn't trying to necessarily channel. I just wanted to communicate, like to hear what they were saying and intelligibly understand this message, right? And so I practiced this. Well, first of all, they came right away. But I wasn't channeling. I wasn't verbally channeling yet, okay? But they were telling me all of these things. I didn't trust myself. I went to Daniel Scranton and had a session months later. Like it took a few months because I was working during this time. I was raising kids. They were in public school. That's a mess. Anyway,
right.
At the time, and they were little kids. Okay. And so, yeah. And so while all that was going on, I was practicing this. Okay. Because I was lucky enough to be able to be home during the day. I was working, doing tarot cards for her. For the lady. And so by the time I got to the session with Daniel, whose session is amazing, I think he's got some class coming up now, like beginner channeling. And I would suggest that anyone, if they want to like learn, this is going to be a good start. He is doing what it looks like he's doing. This is not like he is full body verbally channeling. And what he told me was the exact thing, not in the same exact words, but the feeling, what was happening. Like, I don't think he used the word nervous system. He might have back then. I don't know. I don't want to give it all away, but I will. It's me. but yeah, the way that they were coming into me was what he was describing, but he was able to give me more and more confidence, because it's like, oh my gosh, I was doing this already. This is what I was doing. I didn't know if this message was what it was supposed to be. Another thing I want to say, when I started Guardian, I'm relating to you again. So when I started, the way that these messages, and it's because the higher self or not the higher self, sorry, the fractal, like the aspect that I was most closely related to at the time, she's very technical. She's very, very technical. So the language that was coming through me was so technical, okay? And it's not that. So when you're channeling, they're not speaking English to you. It's not like you're hearing. It's not the same as clairaudience, really, where you're hearing a conversation, or you are, how can I put this? They're sending you blocks of information that then need to be translated. It's not that they couldn't speak English if they wanted to, by the way. Some of these beings have the apparatus, some of them don't. It's all different. These are all different types of beings, you guys. They're not going to necessarily, this is not always what you would think of as your standard humanoid in terms of the way that they have vocal processing and all of that. Right? So they might come try to say a human word in any language, and it would come out like, it would be completely different or no sound at all. So anyway, and that's if they have a physical body that would produce sound even close to where our density is. So it's all over the place. So the point is, they're sending you blocks of information that then get translated through your field, through your nervous system as well, depending on which way you're channeling. Okay. So it's going to hook up through your nervous system different ways. I've been through several different progressions of the way that it comes through me, which is not for the faint of heart, I would say. Okay. Not to get it all heavy, but it could be, So yeah, so many of the things that you said, Guardian, as you were talking, I was relating like right away to what you were saying about the discomfort. It's always astounding. This is my human. They don't want me to say this. Can I say this? All right. It's always astounding to me how people think that, not all people, okay, I gotta be careful how I word this. Sometimes people who are less familiar with this whole world kind of think we would do this on purpose. Like we would I just want to, be seen, or I just want to do this. This is not this is not easy necessarily when you begin to do this. I'm sure there are instances where it is easy, and, there's always an exception to a rule, but as a rule, when your heart is awakening and you're learning things, and you are also going through life situations as a human, and then on top of that, your body is shifting through communicating with beings, and then the verbal channeling is another layer to that. So I don't want to scare anybody, because it's not a scary thing. All of that's fine, and everybody is different. So this sounds like I'm saying don't do. That's not what I'm saying. But when I tell you, Pamela, Guardian, I could not believe that you said this was the topic, because I said earlier that they were giving me all this information before we came on. And part of it had to do with the way that people channel, and what to really pay attention to. Make sure that you're in your heart. And one more thing, and then this is so long, and then I'm going to let it go. But the other thing they really wanted me to say was, make sure, or rather a way that you can be sure that what you're channeling, or even who you're listening to in some cases, is in alignment with you and pure and real and true. Does it match your incoming alignment? If anything is really off with your incoming heart alignment between that and like a being coming in. So in other words, a being that's going to that is going to want to give a message through you, they're not in charge of you. They're not directing you what to do. They're going to come through your own soul purpose alignment. If it doesn't match, there is something going on. It could just be distortion on either end. There could be interference. There could be something going on, but it is, I want to say red flag. It is a red. I don't like using the term red flag. I don't want to do a fear thing. Like it's not necessary, but you should be discerning.
Aware. Yeah.
Okay. That was so long, but
I didn't mean to cut you off. I tend to add words when I know someone's looking for one, and aware, being aware.
Yes. No, I went long. You're not cutting. You shouldn't be cutting me off.
Well, thank you so much for that sharing. I kind of want to just echo a little bit of what was said by both of you and sharing my experience, because we all have a unique experience, and that's part of what we're doing here is like we're presenting this information so you all can figure out that you're doing it already, and that we can trust ourselves over time. We learn how to do that. I learned how to trust myself, just like what Yolanda was saying, and like what Guardian said too with Shar, was validation. I know that we're in a time era, but a lot of the people in the, well, I guess we're called New Age community. I don't know. I don't like titles. I'm me. Yeah, right. But in this group of people, typically they say that validation is something that we're moving away from. Yeah. We're moving away from all this density, all this stuff that's considered like training wheels. However, the training wheels teach us how to ride the bike, and so I learned to trust myself by validation, by hearing other people share things that I hadn't told anybody and in very detailed ways. I, looking back, see that I've been channeling my entire life. I would have periods of amnesia in conversation. Usually it was always when somebody was in need of help, some kind of counseling, advice, suggestions would come through. It happened on an airplane when I was 11. I was by myself, and then there was like a bunch of adults, and they were all freaked out. I remember leaving the airplane going, I don't remember that 3.5 hours. And everyone was just looking at me going, thank you, and crying. And like, this is something I was taught growing up it meant it was a divine message. However, it felt like different people. It felt like different energies at different times. I could tell who was leaving and who was present. Like, it wouldn't be I would lose a bulk of period of time. It would be that I would be having my own exchange while they were using my voice. And so I see and experience things like you would call daydreaming. It's just really amazing rainbow sparkles and all kinds of stuff. And then people will say, wow, I'll come back and they'll be crying and thanking me and saying that what came through was needed.
Oh gosh.
And this started happening when I was really young. I only just found out a couple of years ago that the energy I started calling Bob, just because he came through so often. I wanted to give him a name. These energies don't use words usually. And so like, it's like you go into the orb of their energy, and while you go into their energy, all of a sudden, all the stuff they know. And then as you pull away from the orb of energy, you realize you wanted to memorize more than you did because you don't have access to it anymore. This is something that we all do. I wanted to bring up Bob because Bob turned out to be Archangel Michael. This is an energy I've been interacting with since I was quite young. Why do I bring this up? Everybody has this question at first. And the reason I didn't tell anybody I channeled, because they wanted to know who was talking. And I don't know most of the time. I'm learning how to figure that out, though this is something everyone asks about. So I was hoping that maybe if either of you or both of you have input, maybe Gardy can share next, and then we'll just kind of go like this way. And if you have any input or suggestions or ways to discern or figure out who it is that's coming through, or anything that you think will be useful for people learning to do this?
Yeah, like I'm not necessarily addressing that, but something that Yolanda Marie just said about like how do you tune into specific energy sources, and like how do you discern that, hey, like this is in alignment with me, or this is something that I should keep away from me. I shouldn't leave that into my field. And like the quickest way to do that is by like doing your protection and energy clearing before you do any such type of activities. But the best way to do that is to actually like work on yourself, so you're the clearest and best version of you that you can possibly be. Because like when you open up, you like always attract something that is in alignment with you. So if you're not okay, if you're struggling with something, or if you have some demons inside of you that you need to like heal or something, then you will attract energies and beings towards you that are in alignment with that disharmonious way of being, basically.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important to focus on your own health and well-being.
Yeah.
Thank you.
100%. Like you pretty much said, and I was going to say, this is going to be similar to what you just said, Guardian. But what came to me was start. It's not really full circle. It wouldn't be like coming full circle and starting over, but it'd be like you would need to words, not need. Okay, but one way to do this would be to start again, like basically on purpose. And this is okay. So this is so you can get the feeling of what it feels like for a particular energy, and also to practice getting signals, getting the breadcrumbs. So in other words, like so for Archangel Michael and Bob, I love that so much. I gotta giggle when I say it. It's so good. All right, so for I love it. So for Archangel, and he probably did too. So
Yeah.
or does, but so maybe it would have been like through angel cards, that one would have been the one that flew out, or there would have been a road sign, or that's what I meant by breadcrumbs. Like
Right.
some sort of breadcrumbs tend to also, like, it'd be those clues. That's probably something like what you went through. I don't know, but something like that. But and I go through that still, just the same way you said. I will have a question and I channel like all the time, but I don't necessarily channel for me. So I will have a question sometimes I didn't even know I had, and stuff, information just comes. And so it's the same way. You know how to do that. You can sit down, and anyone listening too can sit down and just set your own intention. And I'm saying on purpose, because that's where we're going. Like we're coming into our power to not, it is control, but not the way we think of control. Okay, it's not that heavy. It's just to maneuver your own circumstances to a desired result. Boy, that was wordy. But I just want to make sure that the proper frequency is what's coming through. Technically, yes, it is, but we're in this word thing going
Yep.
on here. And so I think that there's a really, really big emphasis with the three of us here. And I can't tell you why, but we're really picking apart, and it's happening now. It's coming through now. We're picking apart people's understanding of a word, and
Yeah.
they will understand why that's necessary. Okay, but it is heavy. We're going to, in that 10 to 15 years, I'm coming back around, Pamela, to what we were talking about, but they're giving it to me. So in 10 to 15 years, something like that. Okay, time's crazy.
Right.
We're coming around to a more concrete verbiage. Okay, because we do use words. And even as we morph into telepathy and its imagery, the imagery even is stacked somewhat with our prior communication, like the way we've communicated. All right.
Mhm.
So I'm given a lot of specific detail, and it's because there's such a wide array of thought processes happening in this quantum stream that we're in right now, listening to you. You've brought in a wide span, especially bringing in Guardian too. He brings a different span.
Yeah.
And then with me here too, so it's wide. Okay. And we're not all discussing all of our biases, and we don't necessarily need to. By the way, we're telepathic at this point. We don't need to like have a whole bunch of specific discussions, but pay attention. Not you, Pamela. I mean, all of us, but this isn't specifically, this is just for people listening. Pay attention to your reaction to words. There's a lot of separation that's unnecessary, that's still happening, that once it gets cleaned up, right down the chute we go. And the phrase they gave me earlier was up the intergalactic highway. Here we go. Like,
Right.
it's like, you know, we're like, we're going, and we hit a ceiling. Like, what happened? Well, we all started this. We're picking each other apart over nothing. Okay. We're not talking about that a lot, but that is happening. It has been happening. I don't want to call it back in, you guys. I know I need to say that, but yeah. And so the separation is dissolving, and as it dissolves, let it completely dissolve. Trust yourself a little more. And yeah. All right. So I don't know what that was all. So, okay. So back to you, Pamela. All right. So yeah, so that's where the intention comes in. Or part of it, you know. So yeah, you want to be able to tell who you're channeling, start to practice bringing somebody in on purpose, and have them be a couple different energies that you trust. After, you know, when you're very clear and very in alignment, just like Guardian said, perfect. Okay. And then you will, in your body and also your visual spectrum, because you're very visual, be able to more clearly pick up on it. And they're showing me, I can't explain to you why that is, because you already do that. But there's something about the practice of making it so.
Right.
That was very Star Trek-y. Make it so. Like, yeah, you're just going to like be able to
Warp speed ahead, make it so.
I'm giving away too much about my nerdiness and my age, but that is very, that's
I
very
love it.
hard. All right. I think, right? Make it so. I don't know, whatever. But yeah.
Your camera reacted to your moment of thought too. You actually had a thought bubble come up on your camera like an emoji. I don't know if anyone else saw it. It was just a few minutes ago. Guardian, you saw it.
Oh my gosh.
It was really cool. I was like, the timing for
What?
that. Yeah, that's happened one other time for somebody else. They had balloons come. It was the most, I love it.
Yeah. That's so bonkers to me. Yeah, I think, I don't know if you have to have a Mac. I used to have a Dell, and a lot of you can relate to this when you switch from one to the other. So now I have this Mac. Listen, her name is Mikey. I don't know why she named herself, you know, Mikey. My kid said that's not a girl's name. I beg to differ, you know, and her name is Mikey. She's a pink Mac, and she does her own thing. I don't know what her thought bubbles are doing.
Well, it was perfect. It was perfect that it showed up when it did. You know, I would like to echo something you said before I lose it, is that same when it comes to, because I don't know if y'all have been noticing, but I don't even know if that was before we started the conversation or after we went live. I'm not sure which is which, but Yolanda, you were saying how important it was to not invest in the words, and that the words are different and they don't understand the words. And this is actually why, for me, my personal experience, that I've not had names for people I've been channeling. I can tell what they feel like. I can tell when they feel like love and awesome and when they don't. And they feel like that's their name. What they feel like is their name. And they don't use names. Well, and they kind of do, but all of the names that we've assigned all of these energies are not really what they would answer if you asked them what their name was. So, and I found this to be true about my personality is I really, really care what someone's name is if they do. And I didn't realize there was a difference, but that's true. And so, I mean, I was talking to Archangel Michael when I was 6, you know, and I didn't even know until, 4 years ago, that was who that was. And that's only because people started to need to know. But I gave him a name. All of the words that we're using, most of the words that we're using, even if they weren't wrought with barriers already, which they are, we've added all this baggage to it. Like the word power means to empower, to give the upliftment just enough to assist the person to find their own power, you know, and that word then became to overlord, to control, to overpower, you know, and so we have our own baggage. And that's why this is really fun to know. This came through. And the reason that we all use pop culture and media as a reference point in conversation is it's teaching everyone to have group telepathic conversation. Because if we use a movie reference, we all go to that specific point in the timestamp of that movie collectively. And we're learning to do that and realizing that words are not. I actually haven't interacted with any other energy who uses words naturally. It's all telepathic. And so it's just kind of a fascinating. I agree with you. And I just wanted to kind of emphasize what you had said, that there's something really important there.
It's like amazing. No, and I was thinking when you were talking about Archangel Michael too, we gave him that. I mean, humans, like his energy is his energy, you know, but all of it is our kind of creation. There's nothing wrong with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like a really wonderful thing to think about. To let that go, you know?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to matter. You know, and because I saw this in the comments. I'm going to bring this forward just really quick because what happens is when we pair to another YouTube channel at the same time, I don't get all the comments on my lineup. So thank you, Guardian, for rewriting Yolanda Marie's question. We're here in this energy, so let's talk about this. Can you speak on the portals between March 19th, 20th equinox, and the lunar eclipse on the 25th, and also the April 8th solar eclipse? Are any of you feeling a different energy between those two? Whoever would like to take the question, or I can also, I have a lot to say too, but I'm going to let you guys take it.
I don't have a lot to say about this specifically because not that this is, I want to hear what you have to say, Pamela, but I want to say too, there's like each of us have their different things. They're kind of steering me, not completely off of the dates, not off of them.
Yeah.
They will be still important, but it's like for me personally, they're trying to take me somewhere else. So I'm not getting, yep, because we're not talking politics.
Right.
Okay, but I am getting things, but we're not talking that. Let's see, April 8th solar eclipse. Go ahead, Pam. Yeah, I'm getting more of energy up leading up into next fall, if that makes sense. Like way
No,
beyond.
I've been feeling that one too.
Yeah.
Well, I can speak on this for a moment. This is actually something okay, so 40 years ago, I had a near-death experience when I was 14. And I knew that I'd be right where I am on my 45th birthday, which is on the 27th of March. And I didn't know about the eclipse at that time back then. I just knew I was supposed to be right here in this spot. And I didn't have enough correspondence with anyone before we came here to find out. But I did know that I was meant to be in the line of totality of this eclipse. And it just worked. After I was already bound to come here, she had texted me and she's like, guess what? We're in the eclipse. Did you know about the eclipse? I'm like, I've known for a little while, you know, and like, the reason that this is important is that it's something we can agree on and we all can meet in a general meeting place. Just like when we have celestial like conjunctions and stuff, it's not so much that the conjunctions occurring that's causing the energy. It's that everyone can look at that because time isn't real. This is how everyone can meet in time at this specific location, and that does provide an ample amount of energy and assistance and the ability to raise up in a way that we wouldn't normally be able to. So this eclipse is the other side of a corridor. This is a corridor eclipse. So the 25th is the lunar eclipse, and the other side is the solar eclipse. We are all, and of course we have the equinox energy. This is always a beautiful thing, just like we've already, like Yolanda brought up earlier, it's the new year energy. It's the gift giving time, and we start to find a lot of people will talk to, they'll point at March for their awakening window of time. And so we already got all that. And then we have this corridor of eclipses. Having a corridor like this is very significant. I was doing a show with Dr. Joe, and they were like, look at the day in the middle. The day right in the middle between the two eclipses is going to be like fireworks. And then I looked it up. That's Easter Sunday, the exact
Wow.
middle. It's 7.5 days. And so I guess it's Easter Sunday afternoon. Okay, so it's not that these energies are coming and something big and is going to happen. However, this is one last guidance that I need to bring forward, and they're so persistent about this every time this topic comes up, is everyone are understandably very excited about watching the eclipse in the sky, watching as the angel comet. They're calling it the devil comet, but it's got wings like an angel. It doesn't look like horns at all. And that's going to be able to be seen during the totality. And what I'm being guided is, it's not so much telling me not to look at it. It's use the energy in the moment for meditation, dude. Don't be sitting there with your camera and like being one of 8 million people who have full footage, if you can let yourself be in the energy of a meditation centering space, what you're going to get through the coming weeks and months as a result of assisting yourself here, you'll notice it improves your experience. So it's beautiful. It's a celebration.
I love that. I love that. And definitely the corridor energy is nuts. And also, I agree, which you probably already know this. I definitely agree on the collective, the way it usually comes through the Arcturians, but it's collectively agreed upon. I'm sure you've read or heard. I don't know if you remember me write or that writing, but just all the time, it's so true. It's what the more within the collective, it's an agreed upon. That's just one way of saying, like a more solid, one of those solid concrete things, the more powerful it is. And so, yeah, that applies a significant amount of importance to what you just described for sure. But I did want to say one thing, because I was looking at the dates she was giving, in terms of astrology, right? And trying to listen for if something, if there's something that wants to be said. But the overall thing I'm getting, and I don't know about you too, Guardian, with this whole energy is lighten up. Everything is even despite the fact that it feels like, even because so 2 days ago I tried to get out of bed, I felt like lead. So I'm not saying we're all gonna feel light all the time, because there's a lot of shifting going on. Last night I could not shut my eyes. I was like a toddler. I can describe myself sometimes like either a toddler in like, a park with no supervision, or like or like a puppy that you're trying to train. And this is so bad. Listen, I am very light-hearted, so I'm not completely making fun of myself, but I am. I don't mind. I'm very. It probably doesn't come across like, so please nobody get offended for me. But I'm just saying, like a puppy that you're trying to train, and it's doing good, right? The puppy's doing good. Puppy sat and the puppy's like all focused, and then there's a squirrel. Like I feel like every 4 hours or so, I'm squirrel. What is I don't know. The energy is bonkers.
Yep.
And this corridor, I can't believe Easter Sunday's right in the middle. Oh my goodness. So that explains a lot of how this arc, because of a collectively agreed upon area of time and that religious component.
Yep.
Okay. And the Yeshua energy in itself, that's a whole different conversation. Because there's a lot of belief shifting happening right now with hardcore, hard set religious beliefs. So people who have been extremely solidly, rigidly religious, there's some stuff happening. Okay.
Yeah.
So people just be on the lookout from the periphery, because that's not always pretty. When people are like, I don't know if I understand this as solid anymore. That's an existential crisis is not pretty all the time. So
Right.
anyway, yeah. And so
You should-
Yeshua, that, yeah, oh, sorry, I was just going to say the energy of Yeshua, which is, you know, very dynamic and loving and, you know, very attached to this planetary experience, is very available to guide people through that. I just guess that wants to be said for anyone who has relationships involving that.
Right. And you brought something up that I forgot that I found. Also,
Oh, yeah.
because you brought religious significance in Yeshua, and I was guardian. I'm not ignoring you. Just 1 second. I'm sorry, but the blood moon Purim eclipse, blah blah blah, is the same day. Well, of course it's the same day as the comet becomes visible, is when we're having that eclipse. It's also I can't, I thought I took a screenshot of that one too, but I didn't. It was somebody's comment in a different video. That it's like, so Passover is on April 8th, I mean. And total eclipse falls on the high holy day of the 7th feast day of Passover, is what they said.
Wow.
There's another religious significance on the day of the 25th, religiously speaking. There's a lot of, and why is that? Why is this? Is because there have been breadcrumbs set. We know that the Bible story, they're trying to say it happened like 2,000 years ago, plus a couple of years, which is obviously not correct. It's like more like 26,000 years ago, you know, and or 2,600 or however that works. I can't remember. 26,000.
20,000, yeah.
It's just a repeat story. It's like I don't know how many of you watched Strawberry Shortcake in the 80s. I loved Strawberry Shortcake, the cartoon. And then my daughter started watching it. She's got a ball cap on and jeans, and she doesn't even say berry much, you know, and like, but it's still Strawberry Shortcake. Why is that an important thing? Is that we edit it to be modern, to be a palatable story for us to be able to continue the knowledge that we need for the moment that we're going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's significant. It's not saying it's an end of anything. It's beautiful and awesome and lovely. And these are all things that have been left for us to be able to then look back and notice, just like celestial bodies might meeting up in the heavens, that this is a time we can all agree upon. And so what is it that happens during this kind of a window of time in all spiritual and religious groups? People typically have a 24 to 72 hour window of time where they fast, go into meditation, be more quiet, and be in like energy. So sharing, you know, like we're going to have a party here, you know, and people are coming for the eclipse to do this kind of thing. So this is just, you know, it's there. The evidence is there. So thank you for letting me ramble as well. And Guardian wanted to share something. He's so quiet. I'm sorry to talk over you.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't really have anything to share regarding this alignment, so it's cool. I'll let you ladies handle all the astrology stuff. So.
Well, and I just want to say one more thing, but you know what? It's not going to be astrology related, though, because I'm not actually an astrologer. I'm not even saying the right word. I'm dating myself again. Like back in my day, we said we had a whole different word. I'm just making fun of myself, but because it's funny, and my kids never let me forget, by the way, that I'm over 40. They're like, Mom, nobody says that anymore. I say things people don't say, but what came to me was speaking about Yeshua and Jesus, Sananda at the higher, a more expanded level. So this 26,000 year cycle, and you could also say 2,000 year cycle, I'm getting, in its own respect, it's like another cycle in itself. The 26,000 year cycle is something else, but related to it. But specifically this biblical cycle, like the one that led us into this modern time, they've been repeating in this planetary sphere for some pretty specific reasons. And like we talk about this collectively agreed upon thing. Okay, at a certain level, way far expanded out though, we did agree upon this whole, the whole of this experience, like the good, the bad, the ugly, and being vulnerable, okay, and taken advantage of and all that. But now bring that in some to the more consciousness that's closer to the human experience. Okay, so just a couple of expansions out, maybe seventh dimension or something. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, these are just words, but so much, because we all have many aspects. Okay, this time thing, it's really one dot, it's one prick of, I don't have any reference to show you, but it's just one little pinprick. Okay, and it's all layered and condensed upon itself. So all of these things are really happening at once.
Yes.
And that's pretty trippy. So, but one, so just a couple of expansions out, we actually collectively did not agree upon some things that happened. Things were usurped. That actually did happen. But it's not that we need to necessarily focus on it, but Yeshua, the Yeshua energy. So, and so for those of you who are newer to channeling, so this is, you could call it a form of channeling, but really, this is receiving information. So I'm not directly channeling Yeshua right now, but he is giving me information. So in all of it's channeling, but there's different ways, because people are it's just a lot going on right now. It's a lot. So I just want those of you who are considering becoming channels, like for other people, and even for yourself regularly, getting really good at it. There are different ways that you channel. And you can definitely get information from a being, and just to understand that it's a form of claircognizant, because it's from a being outside of yourself. You wouldn't call it claircognizance necessarily. Okay, that's your own knowing from expanded self, but it's going to feel something like that. Okay, you might get imagery, blocks of information, but they're not coming straight through you, like verbally. All right, so what he's saying is, what I am trying to teach the human collective is how to create. That keeps getting usurped. That keeps getting hijacked. The human collective's own ability to create its own experience is what has been and wants to continually be hijacked. And that is what is so important about letting the little stuff go and dissolving the little differences, and understanding we are a whole. And we actually, that whole, man, when you pointed, Pamela, to the collectively agreed upon significance of the weight of that energy, weight is probably not the greatest word to use, but let's say the power of that energy is in that moment to create, right? We're seeing the same thing, that movie clip, we're seeing that movie clip together. That is a clue as to how powerful we are as a collective. And so we can't really be interfered with once we understand our own power to create a situation. No energy will be able to come in and tell us something different. We will understand in our now physical DNA. It won't be reprogrammed. Like, we will understand all of whatever, jab or thing or this or that coming in, which I'm not making light of, by the way. Okay, it's not that it's not important, but it's just that we will understand immediately. I can do whatever. I can just transmute that. I will just shift that magically into something else. And that's what a lot of us are already doing. Yeah. You can stick me with anything right now, and I'm going to turn it into what I want to turn it into.
Right.
Okay. So, and I'm sure I'm going to have to clear a bunch after saying that. That's like invite. But yeah. Okay. But it's as an example. I won't use myself as an example anymore, but just, yeah. That's where we're going to, and that's actually how it's been retranslated many times. Let's just say, for sake of argument, in a King James English Version Bible, what Yeshua said in that Bible has been, sorry about the lawnmower if you guys can hear it.
It's okay.
Okay, he's right outside. I'm on the second floor and still. Anyway, at my house, but so yeah, he actually, throughout those passages, if you can weave through what might have, whatever was translated correctly or not, this was his point. That, and the fact that we're all the same and all of us are worthy and deserving, period. Not, oh, but if you do this, not, oh, if you follow this rule, not, And it's funny, in this group, you would think, Well, we don't need to hear that anymore. We have to remind ourselves of that all the time because we're still on this planet and having a collective experience. And that's the stuff that tries to seep back in, even
Right.
to spiritual teachers, you know, even to somebody who's practicing all of the time. We're still consciously connected on some
Right.
level, to some degree, unless you, that's why monks leave and go into a monastery, which I want to do once a week these days, and just be
Right.
completely, you know, they separate themselves to train because they understand that in proximity to another physical human's energy field, it's much more difficult to not have interference, energetic interference, which isn't a horrible thing, but it's true. That was a
Yes.
lot. All that wanted to be said.
I totally agree. Guardian does too. Go ahead, Guardian. I can tell you have something to say.
I was listening attentively for the past 10 minutes or so. Yeah, I'm not sure. No, I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay.
It's really good.
Well, I actually was going to quote you when Yolanda Marie just said that. I remember having conversation. Guardian really was huge, like going live and having just letting us chat like this and on Mondays really was a big deal for me right then when it, that was perfect timing for me. And one of the things he said, he was like, I still got to do shopping and change diapers. These monks get to go and hang out in a cave for a year. I need my cave. And I was just like, yeah, actually, and I was in a homeless shelter at that time with a lot of different energies. So that was like a very different experience. And then when you go out into the world and like everything was closed. So we really felt like the only people on the planet for a long time.
Oh my God. So
It
during,
helped.
because was that the, go ahead. I was going to ask, was that at the tip end of the pandemic? I know you guys were doing lives for a while. Like I really enjoyed them.
This was 2020 when I first found Guardian.
This
Before I was
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like the very beginning of it. Like in fact, they announced the federal closure of the country on my birthday on March 27th, 2020. And and then I found out I didn't have land the next month. And now all of a sudden we're like, we're good, man. We got 10 acres and we're in the middle of the forest. No, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, you don't. It was really good though, because I was very off grid. I didn't know. I used YouTube to build my house. But I didn't know that YouTube was something that was like I use it for now, for instance. I didn't know people talked about this stuff, and I was thrust into the world and made to kind of start what I'm supposed to do anyway. And it led me to where I'm at now. One of the things about this period of time is we've discovered a lot of different things. And one of those is that there's a lot of different ways of channeling, and like, for instance, I'd been channeling through writing for years and didn't even know it, called automated writing, right? That's when we get a pen. This is keeping our logic out of distracted while we're asking for these. A lot of times we'll go and you'll look at what you wrote afterward, not paying attention to punctuation, spelling, just letting it flow. My handwriting is different. It's a deep wisdom that comes out. It's very clear, like Yolanda Marie said about the technical language. I did for any of you who are in my Telegram group, I posted the group meditation I did yesterday with a small group. And it's really funny during the meditation, because I do it in channeling state. I don't have any idea what we're going to do in meditation. These Arcturians came through and they were very technical. They were very Spock. And I found it really funny. I felt like I was talking like Guardian. And and then, because I'm just so everywhere. And so when I had a whole different voice, and then this goddess Syrian energy women came through, and you could clearly hear the vocabulary that's being used, the tone of my voice, but even the way that words are used. They always use what's in my vocabulary banks. It's just that I don't talk like that, and it's fun to be able to do this when you're recording it on an audio. And I guess what I'm bringing up is, what are some of the methods that you use to like capture the information so it can be shared out? And like, how did you hone that?
Guardian, I feel like you're the expert, Guardian, at
Me,
capturing. Yes.
I'm not an expert, but yeah, but thanks to like having a YouTube channel and like posting at least like once a week something, like really helped me like to exercise that, because otherwise I would probably not have done it. So but yeah, like the best way I found, at least for me, is to like write it down, to like go into that channeling state and just type it on the computer. And I don't pay attention to the keywords or anything. I just look at a screen and just write stuff. And like maybe clean it up later if necessary. I tried first with like recording it with audio, because I can't really go into a deeper state if I have to type. Like,
Right.
that's very distracting, and you kind of have to be present for that. But yeah, like I can go much deeper if I just speak. But yeah, that's a lot of work. Like, how do you call that? Like writing down what you have said. Like there are
Translating.
like
Yeah, the
scripts and like stuff that
transcription.
like translate it into text, but it's just so much work. Because like
Yeah.
when I'm channeling like verbally, like it makes a lot of sense, but when you like see it written down, then it's feels a bit chaotic, because there's just so much information coming through all of a sudden, and in the written format it just doesn't really work, so it has to be rephrased. I haven't found a balance yet, but yeah. But yeah, like channeling it verbally, it's like a completely different experience. Like, at least for me, I go into a relatively deep state of trance, and almost to the level that I'm like, I wouldn't say like surrender. I like kind of perfectly like harmonize with the higher aspects of me, or like my guides, or however you want to call them. And I, in a sense, like become one with them. And I see and experience things through their eyes and their perception. And like my only job is to like be present and like translate that buttload of information that they're giving me. And like that's kind of the challenging part, that I'm given all these crazy concepts and complex information. Like, how do you put that in words? And like, that's the challenge many times,
Yeah.
especially if I think with Yolanda Marie, like that was one of the most interesting channelings. Like she asked things about her Atlantean life, I believe, and like how were crystals used back then. And I was like seeing all these crazy weird stuff that I have never seen, and was like, what the hell is that? Or how does that work? Or like, how do you even describe these things that I'm receiving?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting way of seeing things. And like, have you? I'm not sure, like, for how long have you been doing it, Yolanda Marie? But have you like experienced that your own perception of things has also changed the more you like tapped into their way of seeing things? Like, mine has
Mhm.
definitely so.
Definitely. Yeah. And in fact, that's actually a cool little like gift in a way, to all of us too, because then the minute you start to come out of alignment with, I guess that could be used almost like another tool. I don't that word, but like another tool to kind of let you gauge where you are. Because it's not that we want to be necessarily out not having a human experience and be the guides or the Arcturians or whatever. So not living in their energy only, but it's like a blend.
Yeah.
And it's like when you start coming too far out of those frequencies, it is obvious. It becomes obvious. It can't be avoided sometimes. It just depends, hopefully not too much, but I mean, I think, I know on a planetary scale, this is true. I feel like in this collective that we talked about, it's also true. Like the past 2 years, I mean, two-ish, I don't know, maybe two-ish years, energetically speaking, has been wonky. Like
Yeah.
it's, long bouts in, long bouts out. It's just kind of more all over the place
Yeah.
than say like, than say like, maybe like 2019. You guys can help me out, but maybe 2018 to 2020. Maybe that was more steady, even though we might have still been learning more, or maybe we aren't where we are now. It didn't feel energetically as crazy.
Yeah.
So
2017 was when I saw it start to, yeah.
yeah, okay. So I guess that, but yeah, with the whole, yeah, you said a lot, Guardian. I agree with everything that you said, for sure, about the full body channeling being something totally different, and it changes as well. Like it doesn't necessarily, the way that you do it can also change. It just
Yeah.
depends. And like it depends on who you're channeling. If you're what we might call a mission, not that that's a necessary word to use, but what you view as your thing that you're doing right now, let's just say it that way. If that changes and who you channel changes, that can change. So yeah, that is much more, to me, it can be more complicated than automatic writing, which I love, automatic writing is so beautiful and so much more, it can be more clear and to the point, concise, I guess, because the purpose is teaching a lot of times. But honestly, the frequency is the frequency is the frequency. So the information's quantum anyway. And so once it enters, the person's field, or the field of the collective, I mean, especially if you are consciously intending this to be so, like you have a conscious motivation or a conscious intention that, please diffuse this information properly to be appropriated as it should be, whatever words you want to use, right? Diffuse it in a way at its highest potential for the collective of humanity, so on and so forth, something like that. It's not that you want to just say gobbledygook in your channeling. You do want to focus and channel the message as clearly as possible, but the intention, the true meaning is going to come through. And the same is on the other end, who is receiving the channeling, or the channeled information, rather. If you are intending to have it integrated in a way that you can use it, that it's at its most useful, then you're going to get what you need to get, despite the verbiage and everything. So that's like really cool. But shoot, I just have like an app on my phone that I push record. That's the easiest thing I can do for when it's just, real-time channeling. And Guardian, it has, and Pamela, because you are now doing this too, and for anybody else, it has a transcriber. So you can just do a transcription, and it's free. It's terrible. You have to go and edit
It is
like
bad.
But it is there, and it has helped immensely, helped me very much, especially with the updates, like, in the community section or on Facebook when they're just written updates. But I need to verbally channel it, like a full trance channel. That's how I get those done a lot of times.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, nothing complicated.
Yeah. And you can do this in a couple of other ways too. Like I found that all this, so some of the information comes, a lot of you will be more familiar with probably the moment that you're just barely waking up out of a dream, or having rested, almost falling asleep, and just using some type of, but I'll usually use an audio recorder of some kind on my phone, and it's like cliff notes. You're just giving yourself information, and then when you go to fill in the blanks with the pen and paper, I find then all of a sudden it's like something much more developed than I even had any clue about before, and the important thing that has been brought up so much that I just want to really emphasize too is that no one needs an intermediary. No one, none of you, none of us need someone to tell you what these messages are. This communication is ongoing. It's always occurring. It's simply finding out what you're doing, I suppose, and allowing yourself to allow it to occur without being concerned. And so I love that everyone's mentioned this. Um, Setting the intention. I always set the intention. I always say, I'm opening myself as a channel. That's my signal to me. They already know that, and I'm opening myself as a channel for all those presenting themselves at this time for the highest joy and highest good of myself, others around. It's really quick. You don't have to do a whole big giant clearing. I've also been in experiences where I'm like, I want you, Archangel, you here, and everybody come and that's good too. Whatever it is that presents the energy that presents itself to you, that assists you to feel the most protected and safe, is what the goal here is. And so bringing that in and letting that happen, like Josie here says, she's like, Andromeda love to speak through my writing opposed to active speaking. And this is the other part of that is that it depends on where it's coming from, who it is that's sharing the information, and how quantum that Shazam is going. Because some of it, if it's so quantum, there really are not the proper words. And so it's very visual. Like I would love to be able to take a screenshot of my brain, my head, and just go, see, because it's so cool, and so using this, knowing that you already have this power, and all you need to do is a little bit of time, learn to trust yourself and trust that the message that's coming through is what it is. How can that's just going to add one more point, and I'm going to let you guys take, because I know that there's a little bit more time if you guys want to keep talking. If you don't want to, it's okay.
I'm good.
But you're good.
I am. I've got a kid. I homeschool too. I don't know why this is important to say, but he is a teenager, but he's downstairs with a bunch of busy work, and I don't know. I have funny kids. I love my kids. I talk about them sometimes. I get in trouble if I talk about them too much, so I'll keep it short. They're characters. I love them very much. But they're occupied. And I've got
yeah, like by the way, regarding the kids, I just remembered that like you're aligned with the Arcturians, and you also named your son Orion. And I just wanted to add that my daughter was born on the 26th of July, which is like the new year in the ancient Egyptian and Mayan calendar. And also, I'm not sure the word, it's called helical rising of a star. I'm not sure if that's a term or something. It's like when a star, like a specific star, for in this case Sirius, like disappears from the night sky for I don't know how many months, and on that day it's the first, I don't know, it's the morning star or something, like that's the first day of the year that it reappears on the sky when it dawns, and that's also the day when the flooding of the Nile happens. So,
Wow.
so it's a very interesting day that she chose to be born on.
Oh my God.
And it's also during I think it's during the Sirius Gateway, like that's when it opens, I think. So,
oh my goodness. Yeah, the Sirius Gate. That's right.
Daughter.
And here you are. She comes through you. See, I love this so much. I love hearing this stuff. I could hear it. I love this stuff all day. The things that, and I still discover things, with my kids, and just, I don't know. Anyway, I won't get into that. That's a whole different conversation, but wow. And you are constantly, so are you mostly connected to Syrian beings, Guardian, or?
I think so, yeah. At least in this period of my life.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I love that parallel.
Yeah, like the other parallel is that we wanted to name her Anna, and she was kind of late to be born, but she chose her date very carefully. Like she wanted to hold on for that date, And when she was born, like someone congratulated me, and she also said that, hey, it's the day of her name. Like, I don't know, like if you celebrate just stuff, like each date in the calendar is associated with a specific name. And she was actually born on the day of Anna. So basically, she waited for that name, and we wanted to call her that anyways. So
Wow,
I
I
was
didn't
like,
know.
oh my God, yeah. So I started to like do some digging on the origins of the name. And yeah, like the first stuff that you find is like the Hebrew origin. And I was like not satisfied and did some more digging. And you can like actually like trace it back to like ancient Sumeria. And it is like a version or like a name that came off the name of the mother goddess, Hanana. Like that's where the most ancient origin of Anna comes from. It's from Hanana, the mother goddess. So she's embodying that energy, I guess.
Wow. There's way too many synchronicities in there. Yeah, I mean, not too many
Yeah.
to ignore is what I mean.
Yeah. And the other
Wow.
crazy stuff, I'm not sure like who it was in our Patreon community. Like we had a meeting similar to this, and like someone just said all of a sudden, like, you know that kids chose parents like you for a very good reason. I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
what will it be? So, that will
Carefully
be
coordinated.
interesting, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, these crystal children that are coming in, man, like they're freaking little masters already. All we got to do is just not condition them and get out of the way as much as we can. And it's harder than you'd think.
It
And
is.
all of us are as parents, we all know this. We're all aware of the conditioning that we're still undoing, not even knowing we still have.
Unraveling. We're still peeling off stuff. And then I can't tell you, listen, and this might surprise some people or it might not. I don't know. Maybe, probably not in this crowd. It won't surprise you, but I catch myself at least, and I'm being kind to myself, but it's at least once a day. I'm sure it's more, where there's something that I almost, tried to wrap my kid up with. You know what I mean? And put a little bow around, like he's supposed to do that. Do you know? Even the 20-year-old, I have the 20-year-old, that's Orion. He's definitely got his own personality. He's got a big presence about him, but he's also a little teddy bear. It's a weird combination. He's like, you know what I mean? But yeah, so he's very much more like, oh no, that's not who I am. But then I have a 14-year-old, so it's a little easier to place things on him. And he's very big, his personality and everything. But so anyway, not to get into all that, but yeah, it's a daily chore because we're still human. It's different when it's not your child and it's somebody outside of, but when it's your child or even your niece, your nephew, somebody that you have guardianship of, and you are in, like, you have charge to make sure they're safe and okay, and it's like you got to unravel some of that old stuff and let them have an adventure, let them express, and not only express but teach. They actually come in knowing how to teach, and we are sort of like placing these things on them that don't need to be there. And I think I'm mostly at this point because now we're birthing the new babies, or even of course at a completely different level. But for the older kids is what I'm talking about at this point. So maybe like puberty and beyond, like that have been here a while and already have kind of gone through a lot of the muck, like pre especially pre 2012. They're not even kids, but even pre 2018 or pre 2017, somewhere around there. I don't know. You can maybe tell me what the significance of that is, because I'm not entirely sure. But there's some significance about a weight that was lifted there.
Yeah,
So the kids that were here before that had all this stuff on them, and then now they were coming out of that. So kids are having their own journey. The
exactly.
older, like the teenagers and stuff, they're having their own kind of like, well, it's not kind of, but their own unraveling.
This 2017 window, August 21st, 2017 was the other bookend of the eclipse that's about to happen in April 8th. And we've been aware of this corridor. So we've been inside a corridor of a corridor of a corridor for
Yeah.
Yeah. And the mass exit really that I was aware of, and when that was when I asked into it and they answered that we're doing it now, started at this time. At least was happening at that time. It could have happened, started earlier. And the mass exit meaning those energies who aren't in alignment with what we're doing. And um are on their way to their next experience. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's something that needed to occur. And I don't know how to understand this completely because all this quantum stuff. But what's happening is we're bringing in three orbs of energy instead of being a container of one. And as we bring in these three orbs of energy, there needs to be enough room for all of this energy. And so there are less alive or incarnated bodies. What's more is the post 2017 children, none of them have come in with the way to digest or to what's the right word when your body can process, metabolize. They can
Digest, metabolize, transmute.
they didn't have the way to metabolize fear the way you and I and everybody else here did have. And so their deep purity has caused a shift in itself. And then the babies, the lockdown babies, remember feeling 2021, 2022, you could feel all the love swelling on the earth. Those were all those babies coming around because those parents were bored of Netflix.
No, it's true. Divinely orchestrated. And I did get during that time, okay, they're telling me to say this. I'm always hesitant about this time of thing, but we did not quite, we meaning the human collective, not us necessarily here in this feed, but the human collective, we did not quite learn the lesson just yet. So because there was something, there was let's call it a test. Let's call it something to take and use the energy in a different way after all of the many balls that were moving during the lockdown and the other stuff that shall not be mentioned. I wanted to point out to you guys, Sherry Kitchen mentioned also, and I don't know if you said this, but Uranus moved into Taurus in 2017 as well. And then now there's another big Uranus shift. So like that's big. Uranus, the creative dreamer, the sort of like because you let's see, maybe she'll come back and say some more. Yeah, Sherry Kitchen has some information on that. But no, that feels a lot like also what's going on, like with kids too, by the way. So if you were here before and then Uranus shifted into Taurus, okay, listen, I'm not going to try to go into the astrology of it. I will because that is not my wheelhouse. But I'm getting like a lot of confirmation. You guys might be getting it too. I'm like physically in my body feeling a lot of bubbled up energy there.
Yes. It's everything. Okay, so guardians of Taurus, all male Taurus, Taurusi, however the plural is, that activated the awakening or in the presence as a teacher for these Taurus energies. It was weird. All of a sudden this happened. That's all I know about that exactly. I have to look that up. I can say that I am aware of the shift that happened. That eclipse happened when my daughter was 3 days before turning 3. And then during the eclipse, we knew we were leaving where we were at. And then she was 3 years exactly and 9 months exactly when we left and went into the forest. And we got to stay there for 3 years, you know? And so it's like, there's all of this stuff happening. And the shift that we're going into right now is, Sherry, I'm looking for her to comment more because she is really one of my resources that I go to. Sherry knows what she's talking about when it comes to this stuff. But
I know I'm peeking over there too to see if she pops back up because she's got to have more. But
Guardians of Taurus
beings, hi Elsa, you and us. She's been saying lots of wonderful. She's been given a whole lot of frequency information over there.
Yeah,
I've been tapping in once in a while.
she's fun. There's so much code. That's why I put it up, and
Yeah,
sometimes we have to go
yeah.
back and look at it later. I do have a question that someone asked me earlier that I thought was a really awesome question. This would be, hey, want to channel an answer, either of you. I'm going way back to the top. Sorry, Donna. I did see it. It just was the opportunity for it. I didn't want to. She wanted to know about good and evil. Where did
Well,
it
and just
go?
so you know, Sherry came back too with some more information. I don't want to cut into it. I just wanted to point it out before it disappears from where I can see.
All right, I'll grab it and this is the question.
Okay.
Do the concepts of good versus evil, yin yang, the devil Christ, exist in other dimensions past the 3D/4D? Do any of you want to answer that question?
Yeah. It doesn't. Guardian, do you have anything? I have something that just came in.
Well, let's listen to that. I don't want to disrupt your flow.
No, it's not like that, but it's just, oh, okay. Well, they're like, yes, it is. So the first thing that yes was the over resounding answer, which might not be a popular one, but yes, there is good and evil to the degree of which the beings experience what you there on the planet term as evil. Evil is such a heavy word. It is very much more weighted in emotion than is necessary, as everything is contained within you. Regardless of where you stand on the subject of right, wrong, good, evil, the dastardly deeds of someone that you have experienced outside of yourself have indeed been you at some point. As you elevate throughout the dimensions, as you call them, the different ways of experiencing energy, frequency, and information, you will come to understand this concept in a different way, yet still continue to experience it. And you will be it will be more readily available to you how to catalog this and how to deal with this throughout your experience. But you see, even the experience itself is different. The way that you experience your life is different in different dimensions, and therefore what you care about is different. Will you be spending your time observing this, or will you be participating? Will you be directing your attention in this way? You will likely be depending upon what frequency you are referring to in this hypothetical situation. The experience that you are referring to will dictate how you respond to or deal with this. You most likely, beyond what you think of as the fourth dimension, will begin just to begin to see this as less relevant. The farther you expand, the closer you come to the source of your creation, the more that you understand that it is irrelevant, and you simply observe and process where necessary. And those are the Arcturians.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
I hope it makes sense.
Yes, completely. I get the same. It's it's a category. It's a placeholder. It's a thing that doesn't actually really matter. That all things are. I see it as the rolling of the scroll, where you see this is the light source of God, and the farther away from God you go, whatever you want to call God, the farther that you go, the more shadow you'll see. And here there's more and more detail that can be seen, and we would call shadow evil or bad in some way. However, without shadow, it's just washed out whiteness. There is nothing to be seen, and it's something beautiful. And that more and more you see, my experience now is, and I don't feel like I don't know, the density of what I called evil or bad doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel.
They want to point out the emotional component too before, because they're like beating me over the head with it. But it's because you will understand, like Guardian too, like we'll run with this because you understand it. I wanted to say Elsa too. I don't know why they're bringing me to her consciousness as well. Like there's something about her frequency in here. It's like clear. It's yeah. It's good. It's good. It's so yeah. We'll get into that. There's a good thing about it, but I don't want to get off track. So, but the point is, there's an emotional component that draws our attention back to this. It's not good or bad. It's not that we've done anything wrong, but that's part of the manipulation as well. And I think that's why they're beating me over the head, wanting me to say something about the emotional component.
Right.
Right. Because those of us here, like us, and a whole lot of you listening, we don't feel like we're in that manipulation anymore because we see, but yet we're here still doing the job of emanating this frequency to clear out what's going on the planet. There's still this going on.
Right.
Big confirmation there. They're lighting me up. It's this energy. It's you guys plus this energy. You guys, I feel like there's ping pong balls of electricity in my, frame.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable. I mean, it feels good, but it also feels like something could happen. Like, I don't know.
I got these like appendages going up the sides of my head and up the back of my head. And like, I'm all day. I woke up feeling hungover. I don't drink, y'all, but I feel like I do today. And my eyes, like, and there's this draining happening. Like, we're being activated on a lot of ways already. And there's something really important. I knew we were going to address this question when it came up. I love that it came up the way that it did. The emotion this is what I'm getting. It's kind of like, so sorry, Carl's new kind of idea, because like, emotions aren't thought about the way we emote. They're not considered by a lot of these higher frequency beings, not because they find them to be, good, bad, or anything. It's just simply they don't think about it because it doesn't apply to them. And so when we talk about violation and, this horrible thing, and like their experience that we had, the stuff that we're trying to process is emotion, something they didn't consider. And so it feels like a violation sometimes.
Yeah.
Experiences. Definitely. And the bad guy turns out to be your little brother hiding around the corner of the couch to jump out and startle you. And it's not really a bad guy. It's meant to be a catalyst to trigger us into our next thing, to assist us in a soul contract kind of way. Soul agreement is kind of the word I choose to use. I don't feel like contract is correct because that feels like clad iron. You can't get out of it. Where an agreement, you can change your mind all the time. No, I don't want to come to the pub tonight, kind of thing.
There's something else. Do you guys mind if I say something else? Guardian, I want you to like say whatever, just talk right over me if you have something to say. Is it, you know what I mean? It's like coming out. But so I mean that it won't be rude. Just start talking over me. But yeah. But oh shoot. And then when I was so to dispel even more of this fear that is a result of this overall manipulation collectively, okay? So I just want to be clear. I'm saying I as the human, but it's not just I. It needs to be made clear, okay? That when we're saying the word manipulation, if it's okay if I speak for you guys too, I don't know. I think, yes. We're not meaning that you're manipulating, like the people listening, okay? Are manipulating somebody, or even that somebody who is doing ridiculously things is even intentionally manipulating. It's an energy, and also there were beings, which we could say they're higher beings, but more expanded in the know beings who did manipulate, okay? And they were in the know, that was intentional, okay? So there's like a big difference. So we're not saying that. But so yeah, when you're going about being your human and you're having emotions and you say you did something that maybe you didn't think you wanted to do or whatever, that is being human. So we do have to lighten up on ourselves and on each other in our human vessels while we're here. Okay, that sounded preachy, but they wanted me to say that. But then the thing that originally came in, which prompted all this, is to really dispel even more of this fear. These beings that we know, and there are many different of them that were in the know and were doing, and they're still trying to hang on, using the energy of some humans to hang on and do things. Okay, just like little mosquitoes or whatever you want to call it, just annoyances, still trying to hang on to all of this. Okay, and they are manifesting through some of our lives and all that. Blah blah blah. Okay. To dispel the fear even further, those beings that many of you might have even seen some of them, and some of them might even have brought you into awakening, and it was a fear thing. You might be hearing about some of them. Their higher selves, actually, when I first started channeling, this is very first, before I even knew all of the history, I was learning, right? But for whatever reason, I knew to come through the heart frequency for a few different reasons. And just what was in front of me, I think. I just didn't have as much access to as much of the scary stuff right away. Okay. So it's divine orchestration. I actually was able to, what's the way that I can put this? I'm going to put it in a you, not an I. You can actually, they're ready to be cleared. They're ready to be healed. They're higher because they have higher selves. Their higher selves will actually give permission for them to be cleared out and healed. They're not some sort of force that can't be, healed, or they're just going to stay on the other side of some battlefield and never come back to source energy and never come to balance. Of course they will. Everything goes back to source. There's not an exception, So if you look at it from that more expanded perspective, that larger perspective, everything can be healed, not just humans, all of it, no matter what. Now, what it wants to do is what it wants to do. And if its higher self isn't ready and it's got more to play out, we get to send it on its way. Okay. But just that needs to be there's something about that needs to be said in this feed, something about reaching a higher state of potential and awareness that you are in charge.
Yes.
No matter what of this situation. And so you're going to baby step into that being in charge, baby step into that power, that you're actually larger than the being that was in the know that thought it was going to manipulate us, right? Which makes me laugh actually at this point. Go ahead, Guardian. I'm sorry.
Oh, I completely agree with that too. Yeah, like the thing that I wanted to also add regarding the whole, also what Donna said, in a shorter version, like how I understand it, is like this analogy of the pendulum. Like the top part is source or God, and the lower you go in vibration, the bigger the swing between the two poles is, like between negative, positive, the feminine, masculine. And the higher you go, the less of the swing that you experience. And like maybe above the fourth dimension is like good and evil is like experiences like gender, simply. Like they're not at odds with each other. They just like a complementary force that exists to bring about creation, basically. And the lower you go, the extreme it gets.
Right.
And the more conflict there is between the two. So that's what we're experiencing.
I love that visual too. Thank you. That was correct. I agree. That feels so correct.
It's a way to visualize and understand it. Yeah. Like it's the same way with emotions too. Like the higher you go, you don't experience those drastic emotions like loss or fear or I don't know, like despair. But the lower you go, the more available that energy becomes to experience.
What's more is I find that I've had a handful of near-death experiences in my life, and there's 5 that have been proved that are like clinical. The doctors knew about it, kind of thing. But and every time the energies that come in, you're like, wow, what was it like? What was it like? They don't want to know about the stuff that I think about telling them about love, family, celebration, joy, family. They're like, dude, we know that stuff. We got that part down. We don't know what it's like to be grieving, mourning, suffering. We don't know what chronic depression is. We want to know what it feels like to believe in the illusion of separation from your fellows and especially from God. They can't replicate that. And when you can't have the denser experiences, the joys are just a Tuesday. it doesn't have any impact. It's just regular, you know, and like, and that's why it's the gift. And that's something that's coming through right now, is that right now, when we are doing these dips right now, well, I don't know if a lot of you have been feeling this or not, the shift of the energy, we're like, woohoo, woohoo, you know? And while we're having those, we're like, oh no, these are like so horrible. This is a goodbye. This is the last time, truly, this window that Yolanda Marie mentioned earlier, the 10 to 15 year window, it's actually a smaller window of the way I see it, but it's a little bit like in completion, full completion, the 15-year. But we're in the year of that. And this is there, these unpleasant, negative things are coming up for us to get to experience them for a last time. It's for us to say goodbye. And that's why we're savoring them. And while we savor these unpleasant things, we're finding out that it's causing us to lean into it instead of ignoring it. And it turns out that's the solution to make that stuff go, is to lean into it. So
Yeah, like you're using up the energy that is available at that time. Yeah, like you're using it up, you're learning what you need to learn, and it just simply can move on to do its own thing.
Exactly. Should I grab Sherry Kitchens before I lose it? She did. She wrote, and now I'm sweating full out. So she was like busy writing. She says the Uranus station's direct in Taurus, May 12th. May 12th? That's fun, huh, Guardian? It's really close to an important day. There's a retro coming. Also,
Yeah,
Pluto.
like my birthday is on the 10th. So.
Yeah. Also, Pluto will be direct in Aquarius later this year. Slow moving planets. You can feel my typing. So she must have been typing that while we were asking for her. But she had one more thing. This is also Sherry also says the Mercury retro started with Chiron, and North Node, and now through late April, all the major eclipses are part of this. Phew. Here for this. Thank you, Yolanda. There's one more comment. This is from
I'm here for this too.
Was this? What'd you say?
Oh, I just was telling Sherry, I'm here for this too. I just thought that was funny. She said, I'm definitely here for this. Yeah. But Soul Z has a couple of comments too, Pamela and Guardian. If you see, there's one on the side. He talks, or she, I don't know who Soul Z, but they talk about Pluto is in Aquarius. It will move retro in Capricorn in November. And then go back into Aquarius. There's a lot of Pluto, like major Pluto transformation stuff happening right now. So we're in the middle of that. Now, my human does not have access to all those dates, you guys.
No.
But I do know, I would have to look it up, but yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so when I was 6 years old, okay, a lot of stuff happened, but I my first near-death experience happened when I was 4. So there's just to let you guys know, that's when I was already having stuff going on. When I was 6, I knew that Pluto and 44 meant the end of the old. Okay? And Pluto, or Pluto and Aquarius, excuse me. And then it turned out Pluto went into Aquarius on my 44th birthday, last March 27th, 2023. And then also I understood that 45 was the next. Turns out Pluto's going into Aquarius. I thought I grabbed it, but there's Elsa too. I love that Elsa's been having comments.
2CC2, go to self. Need more coffee, you three.
I know. This so we're now going back. Pluto's going back into Aquarius for 44 years. No. Excuse me. Till 2044. For 20
till 2044. Okay.
So that's just starting to happen at this eclipse right now. So this is all I know is that this is something I've known my whole life, and we're waiting for this window of time to happen. what's occurring right now is the moving away from the old. And so the visuals that I love that they're showing me the past couple of days is it looks like a net, like in a circus where you're like a trapeze, and the net that catches you is what the matrix is. And there's all of these strands all around the net, people who are invested, whether they're invested in a really thick cord or a really slender, almost just a thin hair cord. And each individual, as they uninvest, and it's happening rapidly now, the weight of the matrix is like falling. It can't hold up. And so what I've understood is actually April 20th. So exactly a month from today, there's going to be witness, a bowl noticeable on the outside of this dropping of the matrix occurring. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know that whenever they tell me the word system, it's system because it's broken.
Okay. Well, I heard when you were saying that gradually, steady as she goes, because we're still in creation mode, even with, it's like, you get, and I was going to call you like a gateway for information, but then they were like, no, it's something else. I was having a conversation while you were like talking to us too about it, to get information, because you're coded up, like you're one big code, you're like a key to this situation. And I know that's how lots of us are, depending on the situation. So this is very cool. And I feel like it coming through you, which is what I was trying to get to, is there more coded information for us because it's coming through you into this stream, and you've got the force, the builders, steady as she goes, it's unraveling, we're building this, right? Yeah. And then you're 45 this year, 9, almost to the 10, huh? I wonder what your whole, so there's you're like all coded, you're all like, everything is like a, well, I want to say code, but there's another word, when you have it's like there's a key to the code, and then you have to put the letter is actually a whole different letter, like that sort of. I want to decode you, basically. But
I get that.
Making sense? Like I want to decode you. But there's some sort of, I keep getting gateway, but they're telling me I'm getting that wrong. But there's something to do with you and this information. But anyway, okay, people. So just soak up whatever's going on here and just receive the frequencies. It's funny, Kay had a funny message, and it's gone now, it disappeared, but she said something about like, what are we going to name our graduate masterclass now? Like just sort of like jokingly, because there's so much information coming through right now. There always is with you, Pamela, but there's just so much. I know I personally am getting all of these ahas as you're speaking about this.
Yeah, I've been a walking code for a lot of people. And what's fun about it is I don't even realize, I will have mild amnesia for a lot of this, because it's channeling. I think it's because I had a traumatic brain injury as a child. Growing up, we were in a violent home, and I'm not, it's a power source for me because I had a different way of learning to access information. I found out it's not from your brain, it's from the Akashic. And so I just learned without meaning to step out of the way a lot. And you'll see it throughout my life. Like, I mean, the national lockdown happened on my birthday. There's the type of code that Elsa brings through is usually all of this kind of stuff. Like I'll talk for a minute, and like this Willow conversation, I have a picture. I'll post it on Facebook so you guys can see it. The clouds spelled Willow. There was no airplane making words in the sky. It was a bunch of clouds, and in the middle between the two, Willow. And so this is really, anyway, I don't know what to say about that. I love that you brought that up.
Well, I got, when you said that, your consciousness was writing the situation. Like it goes more back to the conversation, not to be all over the place, but of coming into our power of even just realization that we really are writing this. But that is another level of expansion collectively, Individually, some of you guys are definitely are knowing what you're doing for sure, but collectively,
Right.
you're just literally writing more evidence for yourself, you know. And there might be some handy beings that are also going to, like, say, if you really, really need to believe something, a lot of times our guides will definitely make it plain through
Yeah.
animals or breadcrumbs and all of that too. So it goes both ways.
And I'll use cards. Like for me, I don't coming from a stigma world of I
Oh, I
was
love
brought
it.
up a Mormon. And so there's, like it's like being brought up Catholic only with Kool-Aid. And so but we have um my grandfather was half Cherokee Navajo, and so I do a lot of totem stuff. And so these are like tarot cards, but they're animals. And so, hey, I just pulled the dolphin. Donna's still here. Donna is the dolphin soul. Every time I connect with her, I always get dolphin.
Yeah, those cards are gorgeous. I have those cards too somewhere, and you can't see. I won't move my camera because then I'll just be screwing everything up over here. But I've got like a handy bookshelf full of stuff. Guardian, listen, I've got hard copy of the Kabbalion old library. You won't be able to see.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, like it's got highlights and everything, and it's, I think, 19. Look, hard cover.
nice.
Yeah, that my sister brought home from college 30 years ago. Okay. I'm
Wow.
aging myself yet again, but welcome to the mid 40s.
That's so cool.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm in my mid-30s, so I can empathize.
Yeah,
And
he's a
it's so
baby.
funny too, because age isn't even anything anymore. I'm kind of making these jokes, but I'm very conscious of the fact that none of that mess matters at all. If I didn't
Yeah.
have teenagers, it wouldn't even be a joke in my house, but they have like wicked senses of humor or whatever, and it is ongoing here, okay? But yeah.
I love what's happening with age. I love that this is an occurrence that sounds so like wishy-washy, and when you first hear it of like this, oh yeah, what a pipe dream, is people really are healing in a way that they're what we're calling de-aging. Like I started growing back hair. I didn't realize my hair had been thinning until it started coming back, and like it's a thing. We're
Yeah.
doing this. I went and
Yeah.
found photographs of myself from 2019. I look 10 years older than I do now. Like it's happening. And as we do this, we're realizing that I know this is kind of controversial, and I don't, it's also story. When we tell the story about something, we're providing limitation. But the idea of whatever it was that happened in the late 1800s, whether you call it a brain wipe, whether you call it a reset, I don't know. But something happened during that time that we started to believe a storyline that we came from a people that their life expectancy was in the 30s, and as a way of saying, but look, you're doing so much better. No, we've been taught to not do regular parasite removal. We've been taught not to use home remedies, like homeopathic regular stuff. We've been taught to not have proactive health, instead rely on pills that you don't even know what's in there.
We've been taught we don't deserve.
Right.
Never mind the skip. We've been taught and programmed we don't even deserve unless you look a certain way, follow certain rules. So, and when you were talking about like the hair coming back, which I also experienced a whole bunch of that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still look like an Arcturian with my hair, and I know it, but like other places, you know, but and I'm okay with that. But the stress. So what came in is it's like lifting the stress and the bondage of those ideas allows your body to just be itself
Yeah.
more easily. And so then come in all of the other stuff too, of course. Like then you can seek the healthcare, and you can seek, because why would you even seek to have this holistic health if you don't even know that you're worthy of,
Right.
living on a beach and calm and with healthy food, watching waves roll in and little kids play and be happy. Because in our story, in those stories, you gotta have done this, it's all upside down. It is inverted. It has been in the past. Thank you. Inverted.
Yeah, like the other thing that at least I'm experiencing in the past few years is like, just as you were saying, that your relationship with your age and like how we function, like just as you said, Yolanda, that we had this perception that, hey, like you have this life and I know, like it starts when you get born and maybe you live 40, 60, 70 years and it's over. And like, at least for me, and I also heard from other people, like it's changing because we're starting to remember other lives that we already have. And like this one is not just like one spam of I don't know, like a part in history that we just get to see. It's just like a small piece of the huge puzzle that we already are, kind of. And you like don't feel that I don't know, like old or young anymore. I'm just experiencing this right now.
Right.
And I already did it quite a few times and I'm going through it again. So
I totally agree.
that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
That's why I got to catch myself with these jokes. Like I'm making these jokes about age and then the human, and my guides are probably like, "Stop it," because it may not sound like a joke. It's the old story, but I'm already over it, so I forget that it's the old story. Though, in truth, like it's still like we're still peeling the actual belief that it's not okay, especially for a woman to be over 40. And you know what? These days, men too, actually, in the old paradigm, have started to like, you have to be a certain thing. And it is the same for both sexes. It's just been harder on women over the past few thousand years, in that from that degree. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, even the jokes, it's funny because we want to lighten up, and I definitely am saying, and I actually getting told to say, advised to say, everybody lighten up and laugh more. Pamela, I know you know this about me for sure. Guardian, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a great sense of humor and I love to laugh all of the time. I'll probably have a dance party when this goes off. Like my kids I like to have so much fun that my teenage children are embarrassed of me. They're like, "You've gone too far." They literally be like, "That's enough. That's enough." Like they, and I go, "Oh, I'm the adult." But anyway, but I think that's important to flip it, not that it's necessary to overcorrect on purpose. We tend to we want to overcorrect, right? But this is just a correction. We're just to the point of a regular correction at this point. We have not overcorrected into, into lightening up. And that is going to allow more of what you're talking about, Pamela, to leave, that will just allow things to come forth. Doesn't mean we're not gonna still want to go and have our nails done or our hair, just special things. It's not about that. It's way less about that and more about how do you feel about yourself. Though, okay, it's all about that. Do all of the things that have you having fun, like have you walking and feeling comfortable in your skin as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's really gonna lighten a load where possible.
Oh, yeah. I have a unique experience that I can reflect on, in that I come from a family of 10 children, and I'm the fourth from the oldest. So there's a lot of years. I think it's 20 years between the oldest and the youngest. And
Wow.
my youngest sister looks quite a bit older than me, and she's, I can't remember now. I think she's like 15 years younger than me or something like that. Like, I don't ever dye my hair. And like my siblings are going gray, and I'm not. And like, we have the same, both parents are the same. We were brought up in the same home. We had the same diets. We had this, I mean, I bought into the propaganda and Matrix BS until a decade or so ago. At least some of it. I chose to want to be
Enough of
part of the human experience. Is what I did,
yeah, yeah.
and but it's remarkable that we're so different. And um, what's different is there's a fear world, and then there's my world. And when it's fear, this is my guidance that I get, and so you can take it or leave it. But what comes in for me, if there's any kind of sensationalized fear, warning, oh no, then that's not true. That's something that I won't participate in. I won't click it. And if someone's talking about it, I'll be kind. I don't have to be mean, but I'll say, I don't participate in this. If you want to talk to somebody else, just let me know when you're done with that part, and I find that even being in the frequency of someone else sharing it does make me feel diminished. My body feels weighted, sick even, like I'm and is going away from that frequency, all of a sudden I feel better. I'm
because
enjoying and happy again.
there's an offloading that often happens, like an offloading as it's being projected, and it's not necessarily intentional. So should I say that? Lord. Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing. Okay, I don't know why these things are coming out now. There are, and some of you need to know this who are here, there are still humans around some of us who are aware. They have become aware because as we're becoming aware of our heart and leaning into our heart, some other humans are becoming aware of the power from a different perspective. Power is only going to do what it's going to do in respect to who is wielding it. If we want to use the word power, I know that, like you said, Pamela, earlier, that word is tricky. We don't mean it in a negative way. It just is a thing, right? It's energy. And so there's some of that going on. There are some humans aware. Okay, it's neither here nor there. It's just something to be aware of. It's not something to go hide in your cave, although who doesn't love a good cave, just like we talked about earlier, but but maybe not for that reason. Maybe go into your cave with the intention of growing and, integrating information, not hiding in fear. Because you're going to be, because of your perspective through the heart, it's amplified so much more. And also there are many beings, because the frequency is so different, they're maybe even going to, if you, with your permission, if you give them permission, even use you to, I don't want to say instigate, activate, trigger. They're giving me words that I'm like, but trigger, okay, instigate, activate some of this, because maybe that person's ready to come out of that mode. There's a lot of, if we're looking at things in terms of the layers of different groups of beings, and you don't have to, certainly, but that is also a thing that's happening concurrently. So ancestral groups are also healing amongst themselves. It's like, carry on, because the humans are not able to handle all of the load of clearing out a lot of stuff. So there's lots of all these different balls are rolling, and they're all rolling in the direction, out into expansion. Actually, they're all rolling closer to source, rolling closer to the truth of what this experience was originally intended for, in a true expanded form. Okay. But yes, if somebody needed to know, both are true. So a lot of people won't be aware. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you for sharing your experience and just allowing that to come through, by the way. Because what you were sharing is like very important. So I want you to be able to continue that. But yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes. Guardian has been triggered by it too. So you go ahead, and then I'll add my.
Yeah.
What was I triggered by?
I feel your energy. You just must be really enjoying the conversation. I feel like you have something to say when you go. I feel you go.
Oh yeah. Regarding like initiating maybe other people.
Initiating. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. I was like, what word? Thank you.
Yeah, these damn words.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure like where I heard it, but I like it so much that we're like each other's activators, and like we come
Mhm.
in to activate each other and like function as a team together.
Yeah.
And like I had this thought today that I know like many people, like especially with whom I've interacted on YouTube and through Patreon and all these other platforms, that like many people believe themselves to be like very limited and like insignificant for some reason. That, oh, I'm just doing this little part in my own life and it's like nothing compared to other people's experiences. And it's like, no, like, no, not really. Because like each little piece is like an integral part of the whole puzzle that we're doing right now. And I like got the analogy today. I think I was talking with my wife about like we're very much into like permaculture and like natural gardening and all that stuff.
That's awesome.
And like then you become like very much aware of all the little small creatures, insects, and all those little things that you don't even think of, but they're like a superb, vital part of the whole ecosystem. So if they go, then everything goes. So,
Mhm.
and people don't even credit them for it. So yeah, and like
Yeah.
all of us are like these little, very important small ingredients that make the whole ecosystem and all the whole shift work. Basically,
Mhm.
that's every little piece is important. So don't devalue yourself.
Every part. In fact, you just brought something up. I've been asking for my whole life, why is a mosquito important? What use does it have? And every time I would get like just like it would feel like a wall,
Like
right?
dragonflies eat them.
That's actually I finally got coded by the dragonfly and by the bat. We are actually meant to give of our DNA to these, not to say go on purpose, go get bit by a
Right.
mosquito. However, they then have your DNA coded within them, and then they're eaten by the dragonfly, which is truly descendant from dragon, and also the bat. Both of these are known in the Native American tradition as high energies. If you have a bat totem, you automatically start being trained and raised as a shaman, just without any other knowing. Just if you have bat totem, and there's a lot of bat stuff coming in right now. It's been really, in fact, we've been
Okay.
having bats coming to us at night. It's really cool. I love it. Um, and the point here is to show that even something that we think has no reason for being here, it actually has a very important function. With the dragonfly, a dragonfly will eat 100 mosquitoes a day. um, when they eat and contain the DNA code from you, they know how to make their wings, their translucent wings that look similar to this but see through. Like, can you see that? It doesn't look as cool without the right lighting.
Still very cool though.
They code their wings for
Mhm.
you, and that's what brings that joy up. And so it's being done with very true, clear intention. And
Mhm.
as we do all of these things, you can pull back and see that everything has a point. Everything is intentional. Um, and even the things that look like bad guys and not good stuff or whatever, you can see that spirit wastes nothing. There's never a time when something is done for one purpose.
Mhm.
Um, as an example to be made is lockdown. That sucked for a lot of people. But you know what? A lot of us were going, yeah, it's happening. Everybody was meditating. People stopped going to work and being distracted by all the drama. Like they found out they can get the same the 9-hour days worth of work in 4 hours remotely.
Yep.
You know, it
And they
changed
can
the
sleep.
world. You could
Yeah, like
sleep.
it was a record for divorces too. So
People found
Oh,
out they were in disharmonious relationships,
yeah.
and decided to do something about it. Like so much changed and shifted for in a positive way during that time of suck, and we're in another one. we're in another time like
Well,
that where
and
we
that's another perfect example too of how no matter what thinks it's throwing something, throw something out the wall again. Is that going to stick? How can we stop this expansion? It's not going to matter. It basically, whatever gets thrown into the mix, and I got this a long time ago. It's in some of the channels that have come through, as well. Okay, so if you guys, this isn't some sort of, but there's information on my community tab that a lot of people are probably also channeling real similar information. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, but within those little like updates, things like this are being said again and again. And I even asked the Arcturians, are we going to say this? Do we want to repeat this again? Because it seems so repetitive, but it's like, it's got to get ingrained. They're like, nope, this is what we want to say. But the point is, whatever gets thrown at the wall, to try to stop, this situation from moving forward, it just gets usurped by all of this hard energy and gets used for good regardless. So if we can see through whatever the fog is, the latest fog, the latest distortion, the latest whatever, and that lockdown is such a good example of that, because boy, that was supposed to be very negative, very like depressive, very, and it was for some people until they began to let some things go. It really actually just caused people to go inside, just like what you were saying.
Yeah. And it was, and the babies that came from it, there's so much that happened. And like, we're in right now a time where, okay, you brought up the word trigger. And so that's supposed to come up and be said. Is it a trigger is also another word for trigger is activation. It is. And we came through a window of time that's still occurring in some ways, some groups, so some social groups. If they say trigger, that means you're supposed to stop. And, if someone's asking you to not trigger them and you keep doing, I won't choose to keep doing it. However, I'm not going to go and trigger somebody on purpose. It comes through naturally the way it's supposed to. And that activates, that assists that person. I feel like that the more that I let spirit drive, the more that I'm in control, even though I feel I'm not in control. Like, okay. We should wrap this up. It's 2, 3, 4 p.m. and Guardian, you're in a whole different part of the planet. So for you, it's really late.
It's the end of the day.
Oh.
For you, it's only beginning.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm so excited to have finally been here with you guys.
Yeah, it was super awesome. I hope we can do it sooner again.
Me too. You're awesome too. I love you so much. Oh my goodness. I feel like I knew you guys anyway. Like it almost didn't even feel like we'd never done it, but I don't know. We're in the ethers a lot probably too, working on some other stuff that I don't recollect yet, but we'll see.
A lot. Lately, more than, I just want to add this, more than I ever had before. I'm connecting with people that you don't even really know very well. Like, I mean, there was somebody that I briefly interacted with at the Soulology Festival who started coming through an astral with me a lot lately. I think it's very fascinating. And that's with awesome. You, it's beautiful. If you would think about it, you're both invited to join in this type of a conversation of the three of us again. I think this would be fun to do again if you felt like it.
I would love to do it again. I would love to do it again.
Indeed.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh. All right.
And thank you all for joining us today. I know that a lot of us are having different experiences right now. And if you're having ascension symptom increase, know that you're not alone. It's growing pains. Remember what growing pains get us. They assist us to elevate ourselves to this higher plane, and we're noticing that the mother line is what's being focused on in this healing right now. And this only needs to go back to the 1920s. So as we're healing these things, you're noticing there's going to be a lot of belly related stuff, as well as just the mother element. So just knowing, and whether or not you're a male or female in form. So just so you all know, these things are coming through, as well as the 3 chakras that are being activated. So don't be, just so you don't have to be alarmed. And using the energies as they come in in 5 days during the lunar eclipse, all I would do in a moment like that is, hey, cool, look, there's extra energy. Let's heal some more right now. And so that's why I point them out. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you so much for coming. And I hope to have a conversation like this again with y'all.
To be continued.
Just let us know.
Yep. All right, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Have an awesome day.
Bye.
Bye.